Okay, hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Soshtavi and I love to talk about books on here. So, before we get into this December wrap up, I just want to say that I was gone for a couple of months. I just started this channel and then I disappeared for a few months because something really personal happened in my life and I needed time to cope with that. I am still coping with it, but I've been moping around for over a month and I thought it's time to start putting myself back into work, start putting myself back into books and this channel that I started so passionately. So, after that mini break that I had for a few months, I am back and I did actually read some books while I was moping around. I managed to read 7 books. One of them was a reread, and let's chat about them. So, these books, I'm actually really happy with the way my December books went because I was emotionally really depending on them, to be honest. And I think reading is something that is actually helping me get better. So, the books that we have for December, some pretty good books, so let's get into it. So, the first book I want to talk about is a reread actually, and it's Fourth Wing. I read Fourth Wing earlier in September. Um, September, October is when I read the book, and I really thoroughly enjoyed it. I think it's become one of my favorite fantasies of 2023 and fantasies in general, to be honest. I grew to be really attached to the characters, and there might be some kind of bias that I have because I was kind of depending on these characters when I was reading this book just to emotionally cope with what was happening in my life. um, but nevertheless, this is a great book. If you don't know what this is, you must be living under a rock, but I'll tell you anyway. Fourth Wing is about this girl. We're following a main character, which is Violet, and she is being forced to go to this war college with dragons. The rate of survival is really low in this college. This college is basically preparing you for war in this world with dragons and griffins, and we follow her journey through her first year of college and all the adventures that she has there, how she copes with the college, and we also follow her romance with the male lead, which is Zayden, which is also a big part of this. So it's a fantasy romance or romantasy, if you will, and it's really good. I think I rated this 4.5 when I read it last time, when I read it in October, September. Yeah, I really like it. I've read Iron Flame also, which is part 2 to this book, and really enjoyed that as well. And I am currently rereading that in January. Next, I want to talk about is Killjoy by Holly Jackson. I forgot to tell you, Fourth Wing is by Rebecca Yarros, that's the author. So, Killjoy is the prequel, it's a prequel novella, really short novella, like 100 pages, for the A Good Girl's Guide to Murder trilogy. I love that trilogy. It's one of my favorite series that I read last year in 2023. Every book gets better and better, and that's a 5-star series. So if you haven't read it, you should. That series basically follows our main character Pip, who is trying to resolve a neighborhood murder that happened in her locality. The police had ruled the murder a certain way and declared a certain victim that Pip believed was actually wrong and faultless. She decides to open her own investigation for a school project to unveil who the real murderer is of that victim 6 years after it's happened. So we follow her on that journey, and each book has a different case that she's doing, but they're still all interconnected, and it's a very well written, very well paced, very well thought out series. And this is the prequel to that series where we basically see her at a murder mystery dinner party with her friends and how she comes to the decision that she wants to take up that case in the main series. I really liked it. I did not think I would like it as much. Prequels and these novellas don't usually do a lot for me, but again, this was so captivating, so well written, and I loved seeing Pip and all these characters again. Super funny as well. I actually rated this a 5 out of 5 stars. So, yes, Killjoy. Next, I want to talk about The Wicked King by Holly Black. There's a lot of Hollys we have here. This is the sequel, the second book in the Cruel Prince trilogy. Um, I read The Cruel Prince a couple of months ago and I did not necessarily enjoy it a lot. I rated that I think a 2.9 or a 2.8 stars. Um, it did not live up to the hype for multiple reasons. Basically, the series follows our main character Jude, who is a mortal, a human, who is living her life in the fairy world, surrounded by fairies and elves and all those great mystical beings. And it's her trying to survive and trying to prove her place over there. And then she um, is interacting with this prince who's like really cruel and rude and like all those bad boy things, and we basically follow her through her journey in fairy and a lot of political chaos that ensues through the series. So it is a political fantasy and romance is basically a subplot in the series. I know this people keep talking about this as if it's a romantasy, but it's not. Like the romance is not the forefront of the series at all, which I don't mind. But then again, there were so many things that I was just not able to settle well with. When I read Cruel Prince, what I did not enjoy was that I was just not able to connect with Jude like at all, for I don't know, a lot of reasons. Like the writing style, I feel like Holly Black is a great writer. She's good at building up a world and building up the characters, but I feel like to connect with the character, every single time something happens, we really get insight into how they're thinking and how they're feeling, and like some depth into what they're feeling and how they're connecting to this situation and kind to this character and all those things. But I feel like we were not able to feel it with the character. We were not I think 90% of the time I was noting it down. We were never really getting a reaction out of her about how she's feeling about things. It was only just how she was thinking about things, or it was almost like we were being told how she's feeling instead of being able to see and live it through her, how she's feeling. And I just couldn't connect with her. And the love interest in Cruel Prince, Carden, I just could not get with it. He was honestly, it was bullying. He was bullying in the first book, and I couldn't sit with it, and it just felt uncomfortable, and I was not feeling any chemistry, and I just couldn't get past the things he did in the first book. So everything was really like all over the place. But I did enjoy the ending. I think one thing that Holly Black does really well is her climaxes, because you really don't see the twist coming and it makes you want to know more. So the only reason I picked this up was because I wanted to know more. Like, okay, what happens next? It had me very intrigued. So I read this again. It was better than the first book, but again, I had the same complaints. I felt really removed from the story, and honestly, if it wasn't this short a book, I probably would not have finished it. But it's an easy read, it's easy to finish, so I kept with it. And again, the last 100 pages were really good. The story, the way it takes a turn, was really interesting. So I did read the last book, which will be in my January wrap up, and I'll tell you my final thoughts about the series over there. But yeah, this one again, some things hit, some things did not, and that's that. So I rated this a 3.9 out of 5 as well. Next, we're talking about Atomic Habits by James Clear. Now, this is a very popular and hyped up self help book that got really popular last year. I think it was Amazon's number one book on the bestsellers and a couple of other places. So it was really popular, so I had to find out what it's about, even though I'm not a fan of self help books. But I picked this up anyway, and my dad actually really enjoyed it as well. So I felt motivated to read it as well, but unfortunately, this one just did not hit either. For a couple of reasons, I think. I am a student of psychology. I've been studying psychology for 6 years now. I am also a dance movement therapy practitioner. So a lot of it was just like familiar to me, and like something I'm already aware of, and like it was nothing new for me personally. And also a lot of it was very there were some things, especially in the beginning of the book, where like certain psychologists have been quoted for an aspect of their work, but what people need to realize is that apart from that aspect of the work, the bigger context also needs to be taken into consideration. um, And also, just like any other self-help book, this one was also way too long for what it was trying to say. I feel like everything that was said in this book could have been an email. I don't want to be rude about this, but like every chapter could have been like 2 paragraphs at most. I don't know why we were repeating the same thing again and again every paragraph. It was getting annoying. And yeah, okay. I clearly have a lot of complaints. There are certain things that did strike out to me, which felt like they were important and eye-opening. But for the most part, it just fell flat for me. So I rated this like 2 out of 5. Next, I read Check-in Mate by Ali Hazelwood. Now, I have read The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood and I did not enjoy it as much. Like, I really enjoyed the first half of that book, but the second half really fell flat for me. So I was really iffy about her other romances because, like, the more I simmered upon that book, the more I realized that I didn't really like it. But I still wanted to give her another try. I wanted to read another book just to see if it was maybe like just that book that I had an issue with, or if like I'm not a fan of her romances. For it's not for me maybe. But I picked up Check-in Mate because I heard a lot of good things about it, and all the tropes seemed like the kind of thing I would be interested in. So I picked it up and I actually quite liked it. It was pretty sweet. I actually finished this book within a few hours. It was really sweet. I liked both the characters. I surprisingly enjoyed all the chess. There was a lot of chess, and I don't know chess. I don't know anything about it, but I did not feel lost, felt bored, or felt like we're seeing a little too much of this. It felt adequate and it felt apt to the book and the characters and the story that they were in. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. There were some things that were a little off-putting, probably because it's YA and I'm a little above that age category now, and also because the resolution that they had in the end was a little rushed and not done well, I feel like. But apart from that, the book was really good, really enjoyable. I had a good time, and I rated this 3.5 out of 5 stars. I forgot to tell you what it's about. It's basically about this girl. Her name is Mallory. So it's about Mallory, who used to be a chess genius until she stopped playing because of a certain reason. And then one day she plays chess against the number one chess player in the world, okay? And she defeats him. He gets really curious about who she is and how she beat him, and then she starts playing chess again, and it's the romance that builds between them as well as the competition that we're reading about. So yeah, it was really sweet. If you enjoy a good YA romance that you can cuddle up with, and you enjoy tropes like he fell first and harder, he fell first and harder, and rivals to lovers or friends to lovers. I feel like both the tropes are applicable here. You'll understand when you read it. You will really enjoy this book. It's really cute and I would recommend it. Next, okay. So I started reading the Caraval. I don't know. I keep hearing people say it different ways, say it differently everywhere. But I started reading the Caraval trilogy. So this is the first book, Caraval. It's about this sort of magic circus kind of a thing that happens every year, hosted by this guy called Legend. So he has some kind of powers, some magical abilities. Caraval is hosted by him every year, which is a very like mystical and sort of magical experience that's held for 5 days, and there's a game that's played at this Caraval, and basically you can participate in the game, and if you win you get a certain special prize. So the two main characters we're following in this book are sisters. We have Scarlett and Tella, and this book is in Scarlett's perspective, and basically they're trying to escape a certain situation and they go to Caraval, and then Tella, Scarlett's sister, disappears, and Scarlett has to find her by playing the game, and we see her journey through that basically. And I really liked it. It was nice. It was pretty nice. It wasn't the best that I've ever read, but it was pretty nice. I think the world building is fantastic. The author, Stephanie Garber, she really knows how to build up her world and make it super immersive. I loved how vivid it was. It was absolutely vivid. The writing in this as well is super good. I've highlighted a lot of places that you cannot see now, which is nice. But I have. It's not a single one of them is visible right now. But I have. Take my word for it. It was pretty enjoyable. The only reasons I did not like it was because the end felt a little underwhelming. For some reason, I feel like the author was trying to confuse us in so many different directions all the time that when the actual final result came through, it did not hold up as much as I thought it would. And there's this whole aspect of what to believe and what to not believe and what's real and what's not real in this book throughout, that when we were getting the climax in the book, I still, until the very end page, I was not able to sit with like the fact that okay, this is real. I still was questioning myself ki okay, what I'm reading right now, is this actually real? Because we were just being thrown around so much through the book. And also there's a subplot of a romance in here as well, and I don't know, I liked it. I liked the romance, but I also wanted more, or like expected more. I don't know. The love interest in this book, Julian, is pretty nice. He did grow on me eventually, not from the beginning, but something about their romance, like there's just something missing, a little bit of a spark, passion that was missing for me. I liked it. I liked them together, but at the same time felt like something needs to change or something needs to happen. By the end of the book, I just felt like okay, the romance is like there. Like it's nice sometimes, but yeah, okay. But I did enjoy the book a lot. It's a very intriguing story. I haven't read anything like it before. So yeah, I rated this 3.5 out of 5. Um, I know the ratings for a lot of these books sounds really low, but I did have a good time reading them. Um, take from that what you will. And then the last book I read was the second book in the Caraval trilogy, which is called Legendary, again by Stephanie Garber. This book was better than the first one for sure. I think that book, it took me a while to get into it, probably also because it's the first book in a fantasy, and first books in fantasies always take a while to get in as anyway. But this one, I was in it right from the get-go. It's also probably because this book we follow the perspective of the second sister, which is Stella, and for me personally, she was a lot more relatable. Scarlett, whose perspective we follow in the first book, both characters are present throughout the story in both books, but Scarlett is the main character in that one, and Stella is the main in this one. And for me personally, Scarlett is a lot more uptight and grouchy, and sometimes I just feel like shaking her and telling her to loosen up. And Stella is exactly like that. She's a lot more risk taking and a lot more lively for me, and I found myself relating to her a lot more compared to Scarlett. So and also the story, the stakes were higher of course in this book compared to the first one, so I enjoyed the story a lot more. The romance, again, it's the same thing. Like the romance, sometimes I was vibing with it, sometimes I was like okay, it's there, let's move on. And the end, again, once it actually came through, I was like underwhelmed again. Like not in a very bad way, like it's not like oh god, I hated that end, I hated that reveal, but it just felt like oh okay. But it was nice, it was still nice. And we get introduced to a special character in here, which is Jax. And Jax is the main character in the Once Upon a Broken Heart series, who I've heard a lot about. Actually, I've heard nothing about him. All I know is that him and a girl named Evangeline are the main characters in that book, and everyone loves them. But I can see why everyone loves them, because Jax, I think that was the character I was most interested reading about. I feel like Stephanie Garber really just gave her all into writing Jax and the scenes with him, because those scenes were really shining out for me in the book, and I thoroughly enjoyed reading about him and the entire lore behind his existence. I'm currently reading the third book, so let's see how that journey will go. So my rating for this is kind of confusing. I was not able to sit on one particular number, so my rating is anywhere between 3.8 out of 5 to 4 out of 5. I don't know, man. I don't know. It's confusing sometimes. But overall, I have been enjoying the Carnival trilogy quite a lot. I would definitely recommend to anyone who loves reading light fantasy with a little bit of romance and like mystical, mythical worlds and magic. I think that would be the perfect series for you. And with that, we come to the end. These were all the books I read for December. Cute. So yeah, that's about it. I'll see you for my next video next week. I hope you enjoyed this, and if you've read any of these books, please do let me know in the comments. I would love to discuss. I live to discuss books, so let me know which ones have you read. Did you like them? Did you not like them? Did you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? I'd love to chat. With that, we come to the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.